Learning outcomes. After studying this module, you shall be able to learn how to establish the individuality from the handwriting and know about the difference factor that play an important role in individualization from handwriting. Determination of individual from handwriting. As mentioned in previous modules about the handwriting, that it is an automatic process of writing unconsciously with a perfect coordination of muscles of hand through a nervous signal given to them, resulting in reflex action. Due to this reflex action and deviation from the copybook style, people develop a specific style of writing which is very much specific to the writer. In order to understand the handwriting characteristic, an examiner should have patience, intelligence and experience of individualization through handwriting. As the pitch of the speed belongs to a specific person and is dependent upon the vocal cords and articulators, similarly, the identification of individual from handwriting can only be possible by a gross study of all the features of handwriting. The features which play an important role in identification of individuals from handwriting are movement during the process of writing, speed, spacing, size, shading, slant, style, pen pressure, pen position, alignment, arrangement, tremors and line quality. Apart from that, retouching and embellishment rhythm are also the factors.
Features which play an important role in individualization from handwriting. Writing is more than a set of subconscious habits. It is a living, gradually changing product of the writer and is far from a mechanical reproduction prepared by the complex human mechanism of muscles and nerves that are called into play to produce it. It is influenced by a mental picture of copybook form modified by individual taste and the writer's ability to imitate that which is in his or her mind. The physical and mental conditions that prevailed at the time of writing also may influence a person's writing. Whether handwriting is a criteria of personality is debatable, but then it is individual to each and every person is an established fact. Therefore, it can be identified, and the identification is based on all of the elements that combine to create the individuality. The factors used to identify a person's writing are numerous. Some are more important than others, but condition that surrounds each particular case can influence which elements are given the greatest identifying value. Even highly skilled writers can produce inferior handwriting if the writing conditions are unfavorable. For example, writing prepared on an uneven surface in the back seat of a moving taxi, where poor lighting and distractions might further impair the writer's ability, will likely display errating and tremulous movement. Although these qualities are expected in documents produced in hostile environment, their presence in writing produced under more agreeable circumstances will certainly arouse suspicion concerning the authenticity of a document. When attempting to identify the author of a handwritten document, all characteristics of both the known and question writings must be considered. The basic writing habits in both groups must agree if they are the work of the same writer. The question handwriting should be free from evidence of tracing or simulation and contain significant unique characteristics that are represented in the known writing without any fundamental differences. The application of sound reasoning in handwriting comparison involves determining what significant similarities and fundamental differences are present. Differences between the question and specimen handwriting provide evidence that they were produced by two writers, unless the divergence can be logically explained or recoined by facts surrounding the preparation of question document, the quality of the specimen, or other circumstances. Several repeated fundamental dissimilarities are sufficient to establish without a doubt that two writings are not the product of a single person. However, under no circumstance can identify be conclusively established by a few unusual characteristics. Instead, a significant combination of features must always be in agreement without any fundamental dissimilarity so that any chance of accidental coincidence can be excluded. Handwriting identification, therefore, rests not only on a combination of identifying attributes, a condition that always must be fulfilled, but also on a coexistent lack of basic divergence between the question and standard writings. Now let us learn about features based on the movement of hand during writing. The movement in the writing includes the movement of whole arm, fingers, hand, and forearm during the production of handwriting. The movement which are required in the production is finger movement, wrist movement, forearm movement, and whole arm movement. Now let us learn about these movement in detail. First is finger movement. This writing is generally employed by the persons who are not very familiar with the writing process or the forgers who forge the signatures by carefully drawing the outline of letters. The writing written from the finger movement have general features. The writing skills are of lower quality. The writing lacks rhythm and fluency. The curves are not clear, cut, and smooth. The connections between the letters are not well defined. The lateral freedom in the strokes is almost absent. The finger movements are generally shown by the child who just began to write or by the illiterate person. Next is wrist movement. The wrist here is the center of action and acts like a pivot, and there is a movement of hand as whole and fingers with the wrist acting as the center of action. The feature of wrist movements are the writing speed and rhythm are usually fair. The connection at the top and the bottom of letters are angular in nature. The terminals of letters show tapering. The connections are smooth and curves are well defined. The alignment quality is not good and usually it is an ascending order. The writing written in speed with this type of movement sometimes renders some of the letter to be illegible to be able to read. Next is forearm movement. This movement, which helps in production of writing, is of higher degree because it provides more muscular coordination and command over the writing instrument. The features of forearm movement are the formation of letter is of higher order and of higher skills. The strokes are clear cut and symmetrical. The speed of writing is good. The initials are flying and the ends are tapered. The pen pressure applied is fine and graduated. Next is whole arm movement. This movement does not have any center of action or pivot. The strokes are produced longer and well decorated. This type of movement can be seen in blackboard writing and signboards, etc. Next is pen pressure. It is defined as the pressure applied on the writing instrument during writing operation. The acquisition of the habit of pen pressure is automatic and unconscious. Pen pressure cannot be forced exactly or cannot be simulated by the forger because the forger don't know that how much pressure has been applied to writer the letters that he or she is wishing to simulate. The pen pressure can be classified as light pen pressure, heavy pen pressure, medium pen pressure, graduated pen pressure. The light pen pressure can only be applied by the skilled writer and it is having a good muscular coordination and a good command over the writing instrument. The heavy pen pressure is generally applied by the children in the initial stages of learning to write by illiterates, by forgers, and by the persons for whom writing is not an easy task due to some reasons like illness, diseases, etc. The medium pen pressure means the pressure which is in between the light pen pressure and heavy pen pressure. The well skilled writers sometimes employ graduated pen pressure, which is responsible for the production of a rhythmic and fluent handwriting. In such writings, the pen pressure is well graduated in harmonious manner according to the individual taste of the writer. The degree of pen pressure can be determined by the strokes made and the width of the strokes, which is a proof of genuineness or forced writing. Next is pen position. The meaning of pen position is that how the pen is positioned with respect to the surface of writing or with respect to the direction of writing. The manner in which the pen is held with respect to the surface is one of the most individualizing feature of the writing habits and it cannot be copied nor disguised easily by any forger. Every writer holds the pen at different angles, and he or she becomes that much accustomed to hold the pen at that particular angle that at the time of forgery it becomes very difficult for the forger to adopt a new angle of instead of that to which he or she is habituated to do. One more thing about the position of pen is that it is not at all observed by the forger, and most of the forger don't know about this aspect of writing and thus only try to draw the exact pictorial view of the document to be copied. Next is shading. The width of stroke is a parameter of shading. The variation in the width of the stroke is known as the shading. Shading is considered to be the visual record of the manner in which the pen was moved on the paper, and it is the angle at which the pen was held with respect to the writing surface and with respect to the line of writing. Pen pressure applied and emphasis of the pen at particular points is also important for determination of extent of shading. Since this writing habit depends upon other hidden characteristics of the writer, therefore it is most individualized and important element of writing which cannot be simulated or copied unless the forger first acquires all the other related habits, which is practically impossible. Shading becomes a habit of the writer and thus becomes involuntary in nature, giving personalization to the handwriting of the writer. Next is speed of writing. The speed of writing of every writer is different. It cannot be the same for two writers. The speed of writing can only be measured by a keen observation of the strokes produced during writing. The speed of a writer can be said to be directly proportional to the degree of movement the writer possesses during the process of writing. The more the degree of movement provided, the more will be the speed of the writer, and vice versa is also true. The speed may be changed, but not to that extent that the gross feature of the forgery could not be seen. Especially a person with lower hand movement can write with a greater speed, and hence, if he tries to simulate a document, then he may get caught easily due to lack of gross features of handwriting, especially the nature of stroke. Writing which include heavy pen pressure and blunt ends show a lower writing speed, will define rhythmic strokes and tapering terminals indicate fast speed. The presence of abbreviating tendency in the letters, connected letters, and Rounded strokes indicate fast speed. Next is slant of writing. The inclination of letters or their strokes with the actual or imaginary baseline is known as writing slant. Types of writing slants: right-handed slant, left-handed slant, and straight slant. When the difference in slant in two writings of considerable length is slight, that is not more than 10 to 15 degrees, and this difference is consistently maintained, then this points towards the non-identity of writing and not disguise. A deliberated change in the writing slant with an intention to repudiate identity cannot be maintained in the writing of considerable length, and the writer generally reverts to his or her normal writing slant. Some other parameters which are necessary for individualization from handwriting. First is size. The size of the writing and of different letters may vary from person to person, but during the examination of handwriting for the purpose of individualization, the size does not play an important role. What plays an important role in individualization the handwriting is the relative size. The overall size of the letters may increase or decrease, but the relative size of the letters remain constant and form the basis of individualization. The writing portion which are important are relative heights of letters, proportion of the height and width of the same letter, proportion of height of letter to the length of the word. Next is alignment. The relation of the letters of word, signature or return line to an actual or imaginary baseline is referred to as alignment. Types of alignment: even, arced, garlanded, irregular, ascending, descending. The alignment which is having a tendency to rise upward is called ascending alignment, and the line of writing or signature which descends is called descending alignment. The alignment which proceeds straight is called even alignment. When the writing is a mixture of ascending or descending alignment, then it is known as irregular alignment pattern. When the line of alignment is like an arc, then this form of alignment is known as the arc alignment. When the letters are positioned to form trough-like formation, the alignment is known as the garlanded alignment. Next is the arrangement. The habit of arrangement of a writing on a paper and style of paragraph, spacing between letters, words, lines and paragraphs. Nature of alignment of lines, whether even, uphill or downhill, irregular or arced. Placement of signature with respect to the writing. Nature of margin etc. at left, right, at top, and at the bottom of the paper. Relation of capital letters with regard to small letters. Next is tremor. This may be defined as the unusual departure of the line from its intended course, which may be natural or artificial. Natural tremors are developed due to old age or weakness of muscles. Artificial tremors are proof of forgery and do not show uniformity, that is, some of the strokes are too strong and the others are too weak. Next is line quality. It is the measure of the quality of lines or the strokes used in the writing. It shows that how the pen was moved during the production of writing, where it has been stopped and where it has been lifted, whether there is any deviation from the intended path or not, the rhythm of writing, the speed, the tremors present. It basically take all parameters of writing together and describes the writing quality as good, medium or poor. As the line quality present in disguise and the illiterate person writing is of poor quality. Next is retouching. Retouching is a general feature which may be done even in authentic documents and also in forged one. The retouching done in the authenticated document is done bluntly and with much clarity that it remains authenticated, while in the forged documents the retouching itself shows many features of forgery like pen lifts while retouching, careful drawing action, pen pause, variable pressure, etc. Next is spacing. The space between the letters written, the space between the words, and the space between the lines all are very important while examining handwriting for individualization. No study of handwriting is complete without consideration of all its factors, for together they describe the most fundamental properties of writing by an individual. They comprise both obvious characteristics of the writing, such as letter formation, and less conspicuous element, such as pen pressure and the alignment of parts of a letter relative to the letter as a whole. Features considered when conducting a handwriting comparison include, but are not limited to, the following components. The cornerstone of handwriting identification is the presence of significant combination of unusual habitual features in both the question and specimen handwriting. However, if two documents were not prepared by the same writers, this can often be established by the presence of significant or inconceivable differences.
Summary: reflects action and deviation from copybook style. People develop a specific style of writing which is very much specific to the writer. As the pitch of speed belongs to a specific person and is dependent upon the vocal cords and articulators. Similarly, the identification of the individual from the handwriting can only be possible by a gross study of all the features of its handwriting. The features which play an important role in identification of individual from their writing, as already explained: movement during the process of writing, speed, spacing, size, shading, slant, style, pen position, alignment, pen pressure, arrangement, tremors, line quality, retouching, embellishment, rhythm. All aspects which are important to individualize handwriting have been discussed under this module. All these features analyzed together can conclude the writing of a person.